Welcome to Ahtna Mythology. This is episode number 3. I'm your host, Dr. Joe Smelcer, a member of Ahtna Native Corporation from Alaska. And I thought I would start telling the very first myths. And I thought, start with the beginning. In so many mythologies of the world, including maybe in the mythology of your world, in the beginning, the world was dark. And in the beginning, there was like no land. There was only water, or there was only land and no water. But we have a myth that's one of the most ubiquitous myths in Alaska. I've heard it in variations from every single tribe in Alaska, every corner of Alaska. I've heard and seen variations of it all the way across Canada. I mean, all across Canada, all the way across. And so it's very common. And it just has some slight variations due to time, geography, the kind of animals and creatures that are in their area. Our story goes like this. In the beginning, the world was dark. And people, human beings, just couldn't see. Well, one day Raven decided to help them. Raven had heard that there was this great chief, and that this chief had these 3 boxes full of amazing treasures. He didn't know exactly what it was, but he flew to that village and he sat on a tree and he watched and he saw the chief, and he noticed that the chief had a young daughter. And he thought, aha, I have a way to get to these treasures. So he turned himself into a pine needle, like one little pine needle, and he dropped himself into the creek where the daughter was about to dip her drinking ladle to get a drink of water. And when she drank it, she drank and swallowed Raven as that spruce needle, that pine needle. Well, wouldn't you know, in no time at all, she became pregnant with Raven. And in no time at all, she delivered a perfect little healthy boy. He looked like, just like everybody else in the tribe. But it was really Raven in disguise. And that boy would go and cry to the first box, which was the smallest box. And he would say, wah, 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 I want to play, wah, wah, wah. And the grandfather would say, no, you can't have that. But the little Raven child cried so much, and his grandfather loved him so much, that he eventually let him have that first box. And when he opened it, out flew the stars. They went up the chimney, left the smoke hole of the cabin, and into the sky. And now there were specks of light all over in the night sky. But it wasn't really enough to see by. So Raven turned his attention to the second box, the middle-sized box. And again he cried, and he pleaded, wah, wah. And finally, grandfather gave in and let him open that box. And out flew the moon, through the smoke hole, the chimney hole, up into the sky. And it made the world a little brighter. People could see a little better. Not great, but they could see a little better. Well, that wasn't enough for Raven. He turned his attention now to that biggest box. The big, beautiful, carved, ornate, beautiful box. And no matter how much he cried, and no matter how much he begged, the chief said, no, no, no. I saw what you did to the other ones. You can't have this one. Even though he loved him so much. Well, that night, when everybody in the village was asleep, Raven turned himself back into the raven instead of the little boy. And he crept up to that box and he looked around to make sure no one was looking. And he lifted the lid off that big box. And instantly the whole inside of the house, the cabin, just lit like crazy with bright yellow light. And up it flew slowly through the smoke hole into the sky. It was the sun. And the sun took its place in the sky. And now people could see and hunt and fish and travel and make things and harvest things, because finally there was a sun in the sky. Well, that chief was sad. Of course he was. He didn't just lose his treasures, he lost his grandson, because it was really Raven who tricked him. But as he was standing out there sad, looking up, he could feel the warmth of the sun on his skin and on his face. And he realized it was a good thing that he had given the world the sun. I hope you liked this. Hope you listen for more.